You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here. And I have to believe one of the most gorgeous days that we've had. It was cool this morning. I was out on the motorcycle doing some real estate business and had ended up all the way up into Sarasota and then rode all the way back on 75. And I got to tell you, 75 is crazy still. And it's Friday night and I preach this, I preach this, I preach this. All of you crazy people out there, a-holes, I guess, that are sliding in and out of 75 like you own life. Maybe you won't kill yourself, but you're going to kill somebody else. Just slow down. And remember that just because you don't end up dead, someone else may. That's a really, really eye-opening experience when you sit back and you're taking your time and you actually watch somebody slide in and out of traffic and taking advantage of little spots in the flow of traffic to try to get a half mile down the road faster. It's just not worth life. It's not worth 6 months of your life being laid up in a hospital somewhere. So slow down, stop being crazy on the roads and start paying attention to others and give some respect. I think the biggest thing that you could learn is to respect other people on the road. But that's my 2 bits. And I got a very special guest and a really dear friend in the house, Peter Bartolotta. How you doing, buddy?
Very good, thanks. And yourself? You sounding good?
I'm just having a great time. I love what I do and just keep doing it. And,
okay.
I ended up picking up some customers along the way and was encouraging to do my first FHA deal in well over probably a year and a half.
Nice.
And I was fortunate enough to help her out and get her into a house, and we'll be closing on that early next month.
Wonderful.
We've got one more week left in this one, which I can't believe. This one we've got 5 Fridays instead of 4. So we got an extra Friday in there.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so it's interesting to watch the calendar disappear, and I go Monday show to Friday show, and then I throw a whole bunch of things in between, just like you do.
Sure.
You were my mentor there for a while. You were just engaging and getting everybody involved, and really encouraging people to branch out and really, I think, embrace the community as a whole, but also what you do every day. So it's you're a Hall of Famer in the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
And I was blessed to be able to speak on your behalf on that regard. And
awesome.
It's been a fun ride, and I look forward to doing some more things.
Good. So do I. Northport's got a great future, I think.
What do you think our future is like right now?
I don't know. I know my vision for the future, but I don't know what anybody else's is. It's interesting you bring that up. It's one of the things I want to maybe talk about is we've got an election coming up this year. There's 3 commissions open. Two. Seat 4 and 5, I think.
Yep.
So Jill Luke is retiring. She's term limited out. And Pete Emmerich is running, and I don't know if anyone's running against him. But I encourage people to, when they talk to candidates, ask the candidate what their vision is of the city. What do they want to see Northport become? And then ask them, how are you going to do it? What are the resources you're going to you're bringing to bear to make that happen? And I think you find out a lot about a candidate when you start asking that question. The tendency is we get into, how do you feel about affordable housing? That to me is stuff. It's stuff that's happening. You got to govern. You've got to do that stuff. It's important. Don't get me wrong. but what is the vision? Where are we taking the city? And I'm seeing the land that we had being used up with some really good commercial property going into residential. And part of it is, the answer you get is that the landowner has the rights to do what they want with land, and I agree. And, property owners, especially commercial properties, are going to get the best money they can for it, and they should. This is nothing wrong with that. But who's discussing the vision with them? Who's discussing what Northport would like to see? And that's where your partnerships come in. And I don't see that happening. So I always ask elected officials, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? What are the skill sets you have to make it happen? And it's amazing. The conversation has a tendency to fall apart because so much of it is talk. So look hard at the candidates and make sure that they're the people that can take Northport where you want to see it taken. And I'm not saying it's, one way or another. Whatever way is your way, just make sure the candidates are in line with that.
What do you think it's going to take for candidates or more candidates to run?
Passion for the city, love of the city. People that are not frustrated because we're spending money too much or we're, that's stuff. But frustrated because we're not reaching our potential, however you want to define it. That's what I think encourages people to run, or should encourage people to run. And we don't seem to get that passion going out there as much as we used to.
Do you think that that's because we're bigger now and I don't want to say watered down. I kind of feel like we're at times watered down because we are bigger. We're a very young, outgoing community. And I think we run out of time.
What do you mean run out of time?
I think we run out of time doing the things we have to do to survive, the grind every day. And we don't have any time or think we have any time to actually put into motion involvement in the city. Because we're, average age is, I want to give us a little break. I don't want to say 42 anymore. I think we're probably 46 to 48. But in the counties of Florida or the cities of Florida, that's a child age compared to the 78 of the world. And so we have a different perspective, and we've talked about how to get people engaged, and you did that before. We had rooms full of people. We had committees. Times were different. And I want to say that in the regard that we're busy now. It's a robust economy. Things are moving. They're shaking, but they're moving, shaking now at a different pace, a different frenzy, so to speak, because it just seems like, the wheels are off, and we haven't had an organization grab a hold of citizenship and maybe be that catalyst of focused energy on projects. We had that with Vision Northport back in the day. And a lot of those things did get talked about, and it seemed that all of those things had some momentum behind it because we did have a base full of people. And I'm not saying that needs to be brought back, or does it, in some form or another. But I think that people lose focus now because they don't have something driving the focus.
Okay. I think there are groups out there. Northport Forward, I think, is doing an excellent job.
I agree.
They're putting these town meetings together, town hall meetings all over. If you don't go, it's through no fault of them. They've been putting them out. I think they're up to 3 or 4 of them now that they've done, where they bring a commissioner or two in. They bring Jerome in, the city manager, And it's an opportunity for you to hear what they have to say and for you to ask any questions you want. So that's a part of getting involved in the civics side of it. The other part of it is, I think elected officials have a tendency to get caught up on stuff, and I'm not making it a small matter. It's important stuff, but we lose sight of the vision.
Yeah.
And staff takes care of stuff as far as I'm concerned. If you've got your vision, I think commissioners need to be more on the visionary side, getting out and finding connections, getting people, bringing people to the table, getting actively involved in driving that vision forward so everybody knows what the vision is.
Right.
You know, I had a conversation with one of the biggest developers in the state. And I said, you know, when the way you guys buy land is typically a realtor comes to them and says, hey, I've got this great piece of property. You look at it. They turn around and they say, well, it looks interesting. It meets our, you know, fundamental criteria. So they put a deposit down pending an evaluation of the property, which could take maybe a year, right? And you're in real estate.
Yeah.
Then after the year, you know, they turn around and they buy the property, and then 6 months later, you've got these plans coming before the commission. Because what they do during that 1 year, they know pretty much the property is okay. You know, it's the soil samples and all of that. They're going through a process, but they pretty much know it. And then they hire the likes of Kimberly Horn and other planners, which are good people, and they put together pro formas on whether that property can pay back what they want. So then they put the plans together and they bring it before the commission, and the commission says, well, what about this? Or can you do this? Or can you do that? And then they go back to the drawing board, spend more money with the planners and try to put those elements in place. And I asked him, I said, what if you knew what the city wanted before you did that? He said, oh, that would be phenomenal, because then we don't have to go through that process. We'd save hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So where is that vision that you can take to somebody, and you're having a conversation, you go to a local restaurant, you're on an airplane, you meet somebody who has some resources they can bring to the table that you believe fits the vision, you talk to them about it. And that's how stuff gets done. But I can't find the vision. I mean, I find broad visions, but nothing that tells me, you know, what kind of industry is going to be here, what kind of lifestyle is going to be, what the average earnings are going to be. We talk about affordable housing. We should be talking about affordable jobs that can afford the houses and get the higher paying jobs. So that to me has always been what's lacking. I thought with Vision North, but we would get the citizens' view up to the government level. But I think you need more than that. We certainly need people involved, but then we've got to get elected officials that stay focused on the vision and drive that vision forward.
Let me ask you this, because you do know a lot of the commissioners, if not all of them. What do you think their vision is right now?
I think it's scattered. You know, let's take Warm Mineral Springs as an example. You've got commissioners that want to generate some revenue there, so that it's not just an expense-driven project. And you've got others that want to see observation towers. I mean, there's no clear vision for the city. I haven't found it, at least.
Is there on any project, do you think?
No, I think, you know, they've got projects on Dallas White Park. What, you know, the way I viewed Dallas White Park, that would have been a key piece for a canal walk. You and I have talked about that, where residents can go and sit at a little bistro and sit by the water, and little, you know, electric boats kind of traveling up and down, and, you know, be a really neat little place.
Right.
And you can build that park is absolutely critical to creating a canal walk. We lost it with Bendison. We tried to get them to turn Coco Plum around, and they wouldn't. the government turned around and said, they wouldn't give them the tax benefits that they were asking for. So they built it where they were legally able to build it, and Coco Plum is what it is. But that could have been a great opportunity for some small shops, small restaurants to be right up along the water. That would have tied into the Dallas White. Okay, so where's that vision for that big picture? And we've taken that project and given it to a real estate company, Collier, and they are not a marketing company. They can call themselves marketing all they want. They're a realtor. And they're trying to get people in. And I've talked to some developers, they haven't even heard about it. So who's telling people, who's encouraging people to come here for that vision?
If we lose that waterway, which I was
We're going to.
I was part of the conversation pertaining to the Coco Plum being turned around. That was Vision Northport.
Yep.
That was pushing hard. And I call it and I don't want to make it sound like I'm not grateful. I call that the biggest and most absorbent amount of time in conversation that seemed to fall completely on deaf ears. And it wasn't the group. It was somehow, and I think sometimes we have to tear some things down so that we understand as a community what exactly happened. And people don't like to talk about history because people up in Welland Park in the West Villages, they aren't really in tune with the history of why they're part of Northport. Okay. Sure. And so people don't like to talk about history, especially when it doesn't fit their narrative. But I wasn't beyond disappointed with Coco Plum. I was worse. It was a lot of evenings away from family, a lot of evenings that we spent as a community. I say this because there were 60 to 100 people showing up to talk about this stuff and speakers, and I'm not picking on it because none of that would have happened without Vision Northport. But it just seems like the political wheel ran right over top of all of us. And I say this out loud because it kind of felt like we were being used just for spin.
I don't know, maybe, but the fact still remains. Why are we giving a real estate agent the plan to develop Dallas White Park? Do you know we had a proposal submitted in Dallas White Park? I would say within the last two to 3 years. It was before Barbara and Pete came on board. And it was rejected. It would have cost the city nothing. And it's going to be essentially what the city has hired Collier to do. And yet we couldn't. And again, the commissioners are good people, but you've got to have experience to be able to see some of these things. And if you haven't had visionary or strategic thinking in your background, it's very hard. Strategic thinking is they teach master's degrees in this and doctorates. It's complex. And with no experience in big budgets and big picture planning, it's very hard to comprehend that. And how do I embrace it? So I think what we need, I think Northport's got to grow up with the commission base, and get people in there that have some corporate background. Barbara, I think, is the strongest one in that area. She comes out of a corporate background. She's got a master's degree in city planning. She knows her stuff, but she's one. And we need to get more like that. And we're missing opportunities. I dread the day when Dallas White is gone, because I know it's going to wind up happening. You're going to wind up with some form of housing in there. Probably, affordable housing, on prime real estate, waterfront real estate, that we should not be doing that. But what am I, what do you need to do to change it? The people need to get involved, but get involved and vote for people who have a vision. If they don't have a vision, don't vote for them, because then they become a caretaker. We don't need caretakers. We need strong people with strong visions that know how to plow through and get the job done.
Do you think there are strong people that are going to run? Honestly, we're sitting here talking about get out to vote your strongest candidate. Which candidate? I mean, we have Pete running, and he's running right now unopposed. And I don't know. And I was talking with Pete about this, because have we ever had a commissioner run unopposed? I don't think so.
I don't know. I
don't think so. We were outside talking about it. And we're like, when you start thinking about as a whole, when you're getting into election time, or re-election time, we've got an empty seat right now. And Chuck English just said no. Is that no, that we've never had one run opposed? Because I think that was the answer. And Chuck would know. So, that to me, it's when you sit back and you are paying attention. I'm going to go right back to the very start of this conversation. He said, never had, there's the answer, never had one run opposed. So we've never had one run unopposed. I don't know that we will. I think they've got several more weeks left is all. And we'll see where that goes. And what did he just say? There may be a run on the prairie.
There may be a run on the prairie.
I'm not sure what he means by that. I'm sure he's going to correct whatever he's doing, but that I think that should be our message right now. We have no one running. We're not having a conversation about who is running or how many are running. I think we've hit a wall. Yep. And then the wall might be the wake-up call for people to get involved. Because if no one's running, you're definitely in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to get people involved in wanting to run. I think we've got David Panko in West Villages is running.
Yes, he is running. I do know that.
Yep, and I've met with David. I make it a point to meet with candidates. I don't listen to what they say until I meet with them. And I encourage people to do that. The other fellow that's running, I know I spoke with him on the phone to congratulate him for running, and he was going to get back to me about a month ago. I forget his name now, but David has met with me, and he's a smart guy. He's got his head screwed on right. We just need good candidates to start stepping up and putting a plan together to make it happen. And this other stuff that we get involved with is just, I think it's wearing us down. Look at West Villages as an example. And, when people want to know, what do I mean by a vision? Look at West Villages. What would you say, 6-7 years that Mattamy has been involved in it?
Right.
So 6 or 7 years. It started with a master plan that Marty Black worked on putting together the land use. Then they bring in a very talented guy in Rick Severance, and they go vertical, right? They start building. And they're going to have a town center. I was just at the police and fire department grand opening. Unbelievable what they've done there. That is a phenomenal community, a wonderful asset to Northport. Why can't you do the same thing in the rest of the city? The difference is, where's the vision? Rick can tell you that vision. If you ever met with him, he'd be a great guy to bring on the show and talk to him about vision and planning and what have you. These guys know exactly, or within 90% of what's going to happen over the next 10 years. I'll bet you the commissioners don't.
That might be some good questions. You know, we've talked about this in the past. And once you're in office, I don't think your vision should stop.
It shouldn't. Now if you run on a vision and you say, this is what I'm going to do, and I think every single candidate who runs should tell me, what are you going to do? Be specific. Now, I lost the election. I ran and I lost, and that's what happens. But I told you what I was going to do. I told you what was going to happen at War Mineral Springs. I showed you the plans. I told you how we were going to have a regional entertainment district. I showed you the plans. Everything I said was already, I knew I could accomplish it because I'd already had conversations with the people that can do it. Okay? Show me, when a commissioner runs, they should all be asked, what are you going to do that if you don't do it, you will give up, you won't run again, and you'll give up your pension? Tell me, what is it? What's the one thing I can count on you to do? And as a voter, I think we deserve that. And by the way, we deserve that from the president right on down to city commissioners. We don't get that anymore. We get a lot of lip service, and we get talk, and we get, how difficult this is and how complex this is and why this can't get done. And I don't care about that. Do it. Just figure out a way to get it done.
I'm going to ask this because we've been talking since 08, 06, really?
Yeah. 06. A long time.
And before that. So we've had these conversations, and I know back in the day, we got excited when we got Walmart. We got excited when we got Home Depot. We got excited when Lowe's showed up. I can't think of a top restaurant that's moved here yet. We have 70,000 people plus, and our biggest accomplishment in a high-end restaurant to date is
Well, it is demographics.
This is not any fault of commission, but
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that, but we're not marketing ourselves extremely well out to the businesses that be. If we can't draw in and I want you to tell me and tell everyone listening, what does it take? We got mattresses. We got mattress shops. Cash cows. That's why they're here.
Yep.
We got for car parts. That everybody needs car parts, so that's why they're here. It's cash cow again. It's just it. But everybody always tells me it's rooftops. It's rooftops. All right. So explain to me why 70,000 people in one town can't draw one steakhouse.
Because when they look at the demographics, the income isn't there. So think about this, John. We have known for as long as I've been here, and I've been here since 1993, one of the biggest problems Northport has is platted lots. 60,000 lots is not an ounce of a piece of land that you can build anything big on. That's why they annexed Orange Hammock and West Villages. So they got large tracts of land, right? So we've known this since at least 1993. What have we done about it? Nothing. We've known you're not going to get your French restaurants at the income level we have in the city. What have we done about it with the high-paying jobs? Nothing. So we know these things, but nothing changes. So if you want, I always joke about it, but I think affordable housing in Northport should be $1 million for a house. Now, to be $1 million at affordable housing means you have to have some really high-paying jobs, don't you?
Yes.
For people to afford that. But instead, we're the dumping ground for the other communities where the housing stays lower. so that the people who are working in Sarasota and Lee County and what have you can live here. And most of it's tourist industry. So we're a bedroom community to a tourist industry, which is low-paying jobs. And we're the place they go to buy the homes and to rent the homes because that's where it's affordable. They're not going to build steakhouses here. It's not going to happen. Welland Park, they will. Totally different picture. Welland Park is a totally different picture.
But at least we'll be driving to our own city to go eat.
Yes. So Welland Park is a huge asset to the city, and we should understand that. Everybody should be thankful for Welland Park. Welland Park is keeping our taxes lower, is maintaining it because it's driving higher taxes for exactly the same reason Northport should have been doing this decades ago, okay, and bringing the value of the homes up, not down. And we're working on affordable housing projects right now, which is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. We need jobs here, and we're not doing anything to bring those high-paying jobs in.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I don't know that there's actually anyone in our city council I have not met with Jerome, so I'm not going to say this to him until I talk with him, but he's not the guy who's going to go out and recruit the high-paying jobs. It's got to be an approach from the city collectively, isn't it?
No, I think it starts with a plan, John. Somebody's got to have a plan. What are you going to do to attract the people? Now, and you know me, I've got plans that are implementable plans that have been presented to the city. I don't want to say them on the air because then the next thing you know, Sarasota will be doing it or Venice will be doing it or whatever. But we need somebody, and Jerome, if you're listening, give me a call sometime. Okay, I'll be happy to discuss them with you, but we can define our economy much better than we're doing today. And I'll say this: you give me 2 years, 3 at the most, and you'll see demonstrable results. It's there. It's sitting there and it's waiting, and there's nobody moving on it. And we're talking about the wrong things, and we're giving up our land that you can put these things on day by day. It's going to get harder and harder and harder.
What is economic development within the city wall?
What do you mean?
What is what is the position of an economic developer within a city?
I think the position should be to bring to ensure a sustainable economy for the city at a definable level, which nobody has defined. I mean, I went to an economic development meeting and they were talking about affordable housing. What the heck are they talking about affordable housing for? We should be talking about what do we do to get the companies that we want here. Everybody talks about, for as long as I've been in the city, economic development plans have been to have a hospital here. Now, if you're going to have a hospital in the city, and that's a part of your economic plan, it would make sense to me, maybe I'm just being naive, that whoever is in charge of economic development in the city would be meeting with the CEOs of the 3 or 4 hospitals in our immediate area at least once a quarter.
All right, but I don't see. I was a believer in that bowl of spaghetti 10, 12 years ago. I've been here 23.
You're not going to get a hospital.
What's that?
Northport's not going to get a hospital.
I know we're not. I have had to eat crow because I kept saying, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. They're buying up the land. No, they didn't buy up the land to build a hospital. They bought up the land so nobody else could.
You know why else you're not going to get a hospital in Northport?
Because all the work
there's too much indigent care here.
Well, that's true.
There's no insurance. So they built in Venice. But here's what you could put here in Northport: a teaching hospital, a children's hospital, a regional type of facility, a woman's hospital. We could become, we have a window of opportunity, but it takes somebody in the city to embrace it and drive it. And not just put it on a piece of paper and say, okay, we got a plan, and put it on the shelf. Got to do it.
I like Chuck's answer. The biggest deterrent to a hospital is indigent care, and I don't make enough money. That's what he said.
Yeah. That's true.
It is true. It's, you know, and it's just not us. It's that when people break down the demographic, it's just not Northport. It's that if they build the hospital in Northport, Charlotte County's coming. Because Charlotte County doesn't have a new hospital either.
Yep.
And
but they've got 3 hospitals though.
I'm
4 hospitals.
4 hospitals. So yes, while one would say that, those of us who have experience in healthcare would say the best hospital to go to is Sarasota Memorial. Just because the care that you're going to get and what happens there. And I worked firsthand at that location. So 23 years of experience being in a hospital and understanding what happens within the walls matters too. Sure. Not that local hospitals aren't a good thing, because at this point, if we could just take one and say, please put it here, give us 100 beds. I mean, we kind of did that with the emergency room, thinking, oh yeah, it's coming. That was a false front. You all right?
Yep. Sorry.
That's all right. Get it out.
Yep.
But it's, you know, I remember when the hospital opened up the ER on Toledo Blade, and the conversation was, okay, the next phase is the hospital. And I don't think Sarasota Memorial ever, and this, I'm going to go right back to what I said before. I think they did a lot of talk. I think they knew that they just had to say certain words, and then they did what they wanted. Sort of like Coco Plum. The conversation was going one direction, and then you turn around and it's everything that you spent months on and time away from family goes awry, and nobody's held accountable, and they don't fear accountability at all. It's that they have the ability to come in and regulate what they're going to do, and they just are better schmoozers than we're giving them credit for.
Yep.
But go ahead.
Since we've started the conversations with hospitals, which is decades now, the whole hospital industry is changing too.
Oh, massively.
And we should be looking at that and capitalizing on that, and we're not. It all comes down to a plan, and I challenge every resident in Northport. I challenge you, John, on your show. When you speak to a commissioner, ask them, what is your vision for the city? How and what are we going to do to get us there? And I don't want to hear things like being open and being fiscally responsible and I'm going to investigate this or investigate that. That's a part of your job. That's a given. Tell me the vision. And if you want to know what a vision looks like, go to Welland Park, go to Babcock Ranch, go to Neil Holmes. Those guys, that's a vision. They put a plan together and they execute on the plan. I don't think you'll find that.
Do you think I'm going to ask this. When's the last time we had a commission have one?
I don't even look at their vision statements anymore because they're so broad. There is no specificity to it. A vision, I'd like to see a vision that you can hold an elected official accountable for, and the elected officials can hold the staff members accountable for. That if they don't deliver on that, they're fired, and if they don't deliver as a commissioner, they don't get to run again. That's accountability. We don't have that. We get plans presented. I mean, we get plans presented to our commissioners from staff that lose money. Any staff member who submits a plan to the city that loses money, we should put this ordinance in place. They should, that loss will come out of their paycheck. I mean, let's get real. Who would present a plan that loses money?
Well,
I don't get it.
What's that?
I don't get that. How do you do that and get away with it?
I don't know. And so let's I want to back up for a second, because we're talking about elections. We're talking about getting people excited. And I know I've beaten this up over and over again, because it truly is not. We're having the same conversations we did 20 years ago.
Yes, we are.
And the conversations have been beefed up, and everybody says, well, I don't want to hear it because it's the same thing. Well, it's the same thing because we haven't done it. We haven't done anything different. I look at Northport and I love it. I'm here. I've been here, not going anywhere. But I've grown, and I have to say I've grown, because I wasn't involved in politics really on the level that I am now in Northport, because I was in a bigger city. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and Columbus, Ohio was built. There wasn't a whole lot to think about other than rehab our old stuff, which they're doing. Okay.
Yep.
And I look at this and I try to get people involved and try to get their excitement going about what we are. And I'm going to go back to you 1 second and say, I don't think we have a definition of what we are. I think we let other people tell us what we are. And I just in the last week, I had a conversation with a realtor from Sarasota who was very simple. I need to get some land, and I want to come to Northport, and my friends tell me not to go down there. Okay, your friends are from Sarasota. I did that, okay, because anybody who doesn't understand what Northport is has their nose in the air because they live in Sarasota. I just want even the people with your nose in the air. You can make money here. You can make a living here, and you can make good money here if you buy land right, you sell it right. Bring your wealthy money down here and put it to work. There's money to be made within our community, but as long as you're mocking that side of it, people don't understand it. But I had that realtor ask me if I would show her around because I knew my city. Well, sure, I'll show you around. I understand what we're doing.
Yep.
But think about that. She's a realtor from Sarasota.
Yep.
And she wants me to show her around in Sarasota County.
Well, I used to give tours of the city, right?
100%.
I still do. And that tour would take typically an hour and a half to 2 hours. And West Villages wasn't here.
Right.
So
right.
And I usually got two basic responses at the end. Was like, one was wow, and how big is this city? We talk about 104 square miles like it's nothing. It's huge, and the potential here is just amazing. So I encourage the tours. If you remember the ambassadors, remember when we tried to put that together?
Yeah.
We were going to bring, we needed funding because it was going to take 3/4 of a person's full time to do this. But we were going to do tours every single month of the city, the general tour. Then we were going to highlight each month. If you went on a big tour, then you would go on a tour of the schools, a tour of the parks, a tour of the government, and you'd get to really get inside the city and create ambassadors that in turn would go out and be able to speak positively about Northport. The government took on that job. Everybody got that joined that, got a t-shirt. I think they got 2 pictures taken, and that was it. But it's all about education of the people about what a great city we have and get them involved. Sometimes I think they don't want to see people involved.
I think that a lot. Sometimes I think when I hear from elected officials, and I'm not saying anyone or any city
right.
specifically, but I don't just know our officials. I know a lot of officials all over the place because I'm active, and the comments that I'm very well connected. Okay, you're very well connected. Well, I got to believe that I think the same thing. I think that everyone thinks they're pretty well connected unless they're new here and they really don't care. But most people who've been here for 10 or 15 years feel like they're pretty well connected. And yet they're disconnected. There are topics and things that are happening within our town. As much as I want to think that I know about them, they're not out there. I'm not sure. I said that wrong. They're out there. I don't know about them. One of our most active commissioners in the community is Jill Luke, and every commissioner knows it. She's everywhere all the time. But there are things happening in our city. I'll guarantee she doesn't know either, or doesn't have time to pay attention to. And I'm not picking on her because she dedicates herself to being out front and being involved and being that person. Okay.
Yep. But let me ask you this though. What is the job of a commissioner? And with all due respect, being everywhere, it's getting something done. Get the vision going. Get the plan in place.
But it's a double edge. There is a double-edged sword to that because we're in a community that if you're not out there as a commissioner, now I'll add in the caveat: being present is a value. If you have a message,
John, I'm going to challenge you.
Get out.
I'm going to challenge you on it because being present is important, but what's most important and what's happening in our city is the housing costs are going up. The jobs aren't here. It's only a matter of time. You're going to see a bubble that's going to collapse. Who's going to get hurt first? Who got hit with more foreclosures in the last bubble burst was Northport. Who gets hit first is Northport. Okay? So when that happens, people leave because they got to go somewhere to live, right? And you remember the housing market collapsed on us. So being around and being everywhere and being nice and all of that good stuff, those people aren't going to be around to enjoy it. What are we getting done to get the job levels up, to get the income levels up, to get the housing into a sustainable process? What are we doing there? What are we doing to keep the people here? I talk to so many young people that say there's nothing to do here. I was just talking to a person in Northport that doing some work on my house, and she's thinking of moving because it's dead. And we've been hearing this for how many decades now, John? It's not changing.
23 years.
Yeah. So people keep coming in, but there's also people leaving. So you're not sustaining yourself. You're not building on a foundation. And I think it's important for commissioners to be out in the public eye, but it's more important for them to focus on the vision for this city, a plan for this city, and then to get the damn job done. And if you're not liked in the process, I'm sorry, but get the job done and do the tough decisions and stop putting up TPs at War Mineral Springs and towers that people can stand up, go climb a ladder and look out over the. I mean, that's not the future of this city.
Well, it is if we
Sorry.
vote.
Well, it's becoming our future. So, I came this close to moving, John. And it's still in the back of my head because I see the opportunities every day that we were talking about that are here. We're losing them. They're moving on. They're going somewhere else, and it hurts.
Well, you've been involved. How many years have you been involved now in just trying to not? And I don't want to use the word figure out because it's not figure out. But how many years has it been where you've been pushing economic development and economic drivers within our city?
Probably since, I would say, 1994, 95.
So what have you seen? What have you seen since 1995 that is an economic driver that you would have thought would have been different here than Home Depot, Lowe's?
Okay, I'll frame it this way. I was told by a high-level organization in Sarasota County what their vision for Northport was. And it was basically light industrial warehousing. So my comment to them was, so you see Northport as the lawnmower repair capital of Sarasota County. They never saw industry. That vision is coming to bear. That is what we have. We have flex spacing. We have the kind of, 1 and 2 man and small business kind of operations. There's no industry here. And it's almost as if it was by design. So I've been fighting ever since then for because I didn't see any industry going in Sarasota either. It's tourism. It's a tourism market. And if you're going to be a bedroom community to a tourist market, that means all the waiters and waitresses live in Northport. Well, don't expect, then the rest of us, the housing market is going to get low because nobody's willing to pay the prices. So economic development is how do you grow and not put the burden of that cost on the homeowners. That's the trick. And if it's done through big developments or it's done through bringing high-paying jobs, whatever the process is, that's what economic development is. We have not had that.
Well, we've
just been lucky. The housing market's just exploded, so we're just benefiting from it.
We just chewed up the last minute. So I can't believe that we are at 4:00 already. But, I look forward to talking to you again. But let's do. I want to talk to you. I'm going to try to do something different next time we're on. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll talk to you about it after. But this is John Rawlings with Peter Bartolotta saying thanks. Have a great day, and remember to get out and vote and be safe on the road. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.